Welcome to my channel, F1 News. What if I told you Ferrari may have already found the answer to its biggest weakness just before Miami, but that very same fix could become the thing that destroys their race weekend? Drop a follow to keep getting content like this, because what Ferrari has cooked up is not a routine update. This is a bold, all-in package that fundamentally reshapes the SF26 at the worst possible moment in the season, all to eliminate a flaw that is bleeding 10th on every single straight. And that could decide whether Ferrari stays in the championship hunt or completely falls off. But here is the real question. Will this weight reduction and aero overhaul genuinely be enough to challenge Mercedes, or are we watching an experiment that could collapse at exactly the wrong time? Stay till the end, because what Ferrari has brought to Miami is not just aggressive, it could flip the entire championship picture. Ferrari does not come to Miami in a position of strength. They arrive in a position of pure desperation, and that changes how you read every single decision they're making. Because when a top team like Ferrari bundles multiple upgrades into one race, it's not curiosity driving that call, it's panic. It's the knowledge that there is no room left to breathe, and that is precisely where Ferrari finds itself right now, sitting as the third best team behind a Mercedes that has looked dominant since lights out in Bahrain, particularly on circuits where straight-line efficiency and energy management separate the winners from the rest, two areas where the SF26 has been painfully exposed. This is where the real story behind this bombshell starts taking shape. Ferrari does not have a slow car in absolute terms. In fact, it produces some of the highest downforce levels on the grid, making it genuinely fast through corners. But that same strength flips into a problem the moment you hit circuits like Miami, where grip alone is not enough. You need efficiency. You need top-end speed. You need your power delivery to hold all the way through the longest straights, and that is exactly where Ferrari is losing. Inside the team, this problem has a specific name: super clipping. It's a hybrid limitation that causes the SF26 to drain its electrical energy too early, leaving the car running on combustion power alone at the very end of straights, right where rivals are still getting that electrical push that makes the real difference. This is not something minor. We're talking about an estimated gap of over 25 horsepower compared to Mercedes in those moments, which translates directly into lap time. And in modern Formula One, those tenths are the line between fighting for wins and being completely irrelevant. So what Ferrari is prepared for Miami has to be read as a direct strike against this structural issue. And one of the most important pieces in this puzzle is weight reduction, because shedding kilos doesn't only help raw acceleration, it directly changes how the car handles energy, how the hybrid load gets distributed, and how performance holds up across the entire lap, especially on a circuit where every meter of straight matters as much as Miami. But Ferrari hasn't stopped there, and that's exactly what makes this package so aggressive, because they've chosen to stack improvements that were originally planned across several different races, including developments meant for Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. They're collapsing their entire technical roadmap into one single weekend, which multiplies both the reward and the danger, because throwing that many new components onto a car simultaneously can create correlation issues, balance problems, and behavioral surprises that no simulator fully prepares you for. There's another detail being underestimated here. Ferrari chose Monza specifically to validate this package, a circuit selected for its high-speed nature to replicate Miami's energy demands. That tells you the priority is not downforce or cornering. The target is fixing the straight-line deficit, and if they have genuinely achieved that, the implications are massive, because a Ferrari that keeps its corner strength but stops being a sitting duck on the straights becomes an entirely different proposition on the grid. All of this points to one clear reality. Ferrari is not fine-tuning. They are attempting to fundamentally redesign this car mid-season. That turns Miami into something far bigger than a regular race. It becomes the moment where we find out whether this package can truly close the gap to Mercedes, or whether it confirms that the SF26 has problems too deep for one update to fix. Now this is where it gets genuinely fascinating, because just understanding the improvements is not enough. You need to understand how they translate on track and what effect they can actually produce at a circuit like Miami, where every technical variable gets pushed to the extreme. Ferrari has engineered this package around one central idea: correcting car behavior in actual race conditions. That means attacking how aerodynamics, weight, and energy management connect with each other, three systems that haven't been working in harmony on the SF26, because the issue was never just losing speed on the straight, it was the chain of events leading there: the energy consumption, the load distribution, the lap-on-lap degradation that in a real race scenario compounds into a much larger time loss than any simulation reveals. At the heart of this new approach is a redesigned floor, and the goal is not simply more downforce, it's cleaner, more stable, more predictable downforce that keeps the car balanced without squeezing the hybrid system, which in turn pushes back that critical moment of superclipping. Because if they can hold energy longer, Ferrari doesn't just gain straight line speed, they improve their ability to attack and defend, something absolutely crucial around Miami, where overtaking windows are short and rare. But here is where the genuine danger lives. Combining this many changes simultaneously can shift the car's operating window so dramatically that the setup engineers find themselves chasing a target they can't pin down in practice. Each floor modification alters the aerodynamic flow, the balance, the tire behavior, and the way drivers can actually extract performance in both qualifying and the race. With zero margin for error, even one small deviation sends you backwards on the grid or wrecks your entire weekend strategy. And Miami only makes this harder because it's a circuit demanding near-perfect balance between load and efficiency. It's exactly the type of track that has exposed Ferrari's compromise all season. Until now, they've been forced to pick: be quick in the corners or survive on the straights. This package is supposed to break that compromise. In theory, it's the ideal solution. In practice, it's one of the most demanding engineering challenges Formula One has to offer. Weight reduction ties all of this together, because reducing mass not only delivers performance directly, it also expands the operating window, giving engineers more room to push settings aggressively without destroying overall stability. That extra flexibility could be decisive across a weekend with changing conditions, from qualifying runs to race-pace tire management, the kind of edge that turns close battles into clear advantages. But the core question stays the same: will it hold when the pressure is real? Because a filming day in Monza is one thing. Miami, with live traffic, rival pressure, swinging temperatures, and teams that won't give you an inch, is something else. That is where we find out whether Ferrari has genuinely moved forward, or whether this package stays just out of reach when it truly counts. And now we arrive at the moment where everything is decided. Ferrari has played its card, the bet has been placed, but Formula One doesn't reward the team that promises the most. It rewards whoever delivers under the heaviest pressure, and that is what turns this into a defining moment for the Scuderia. If this works, we're not talking about small gains, we're talking about a genuine shift in the competitive order, a Ferrari that is dangerous in the corners and no longer vulnerable on the straights suddenly erases its biggest weakness and becomes a real Mercedes challenger in conditions where previously it had no answer. That reopens the championship and puts Ferrari back in the conversation for consistent victories. But Formula One history is full of warnings about what happens when you change too much too fast, because when the margin collapses to zero, any failure in correlation, any setup inconsistency, any difficulty adapting mid-weekend can turn this whole package into a liability, a car that is faster on paper but harder to drive, more unpredictable, more difficult to maximize in qualifying in the race at the exact moment when everything is on the line. And the human element cannot be ignored either. It's not just the car, it depends on how the drivers adapt to the new behavior, how the team handles strategy calls, how they respond when the unexpected happens. Miami is unforgiving. When you're up against teams with a stable, proven package, any hesitation or inconsistency gets punished fast. The most striking thing of all is that Ferrari has no backup plan. They have front-loaded their development. They have concentrated everything into one swing, and that means this Grand Prix result has the potential to define the entire shape of their season. Get it right, and they close the gap, rebuild confidence, and re-enter the title fight. Get it wrong, and they don't just lose ground, they also compromise their capacity to respond in the races that follow.
So the real question is not whether Ferrari has improved. The real question is whether they have improved enough at the right time, under the right conditions, to turn potential into actual results. Because Miami will not measure how much they have evolved. It will measure whether this bombshell was the turning point or simply the final desperate move of a team still searching for its real answer. And in the end, it all reduces to this one thing. Ferrari has stopped reacting and decided to take a real swing, because this is not an upgrade. It's not just a technical step. It's a direct acknowledgement that they know exactly where they are failing, and that staying as the third force in this championship is no longer something they can accept. Not with their history, not with their ambition, not with what's at stake. The cards are down. Ferrari has played hard. Now Miami decides everything. Subscribe to stay on top of every development as this story unfolds. And thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel F1 News and press bell icon.